Friends
The
like
horse
Tom, you
show
don't
is
need many enemies, do you?
What's that, LeBron?
Say with friends like you, we don't need many enemies, do we?
Well, sometimes I don't know when to keep my mouth shut. You're right.
Join the club.
Yeah, really.
What goes around comes around.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. If that ever happens, I'm going to be in deep doo-doo. I got people from throughout my history that are looking for a payback. Hey, Roger.
How's it going, Tom?
Good. Good to see you. So, good. I guess we'll just get started here. Tonight, we have just a little brief from Bernie and I on our Columbia trip Saturday. And then we'll turn it over to LeBron, and he's going to share with us some of his tips, if you will, or techniques for how he crafts his backdrops. So always good to see you all. So I'm going to put up a PowerPoint here, and Bernie and I are just going to tag team on this. Beginning. Here we go. Images from Civil War Railroads Day. So I will say that, you know, for the most part, I thought they did a really nice job organizing this day. They had some great lectures, and there was also a few units with some living history that were there. So we had this one couple, they were all from Pennsylvania units. And he's preparing to build a fire, and she's going to be cooking up some hardtack. And what was the other thing, Bernie?
Mush. Oh shoot, what did I call them?
Corn mush, or mush?
Corn mushies. Corn mushies.
Right. And so we sampled those, and the corn mushies were actually quite good because they're made with butter, I think. But you know, it was a beautiful day, as you can see. And in the background there, that is the replacement bridge, of course, of the Columbia Bridge that was a little over a mile long that spanned the Susquehanna, that Lee's forward units were approaching. I forget if it was AP Hills, guys. I forget.
No, it was Ewell.
Ewell, thank you. And another fellow that we ran into, well, not ran into, but who was there was this guy. I think his name's Walter, and he's from the Invalid Corps. And he had some great stories about the that unit, which actually fought on the opposite side of the river as part of the defense. And what else can I say about him? I was just really impressed with his knowledge and his dedication. I mean, that crutch, although it's authentic, it's for real. I think he actually did fight in Nam. And but I don't think that has anything to do with the crutch. But that was just one of the other characters that we saw. And then there was this gentleman. He was cooking up lead for shot and soldiers. So these 4 little boxes here were figures that he was casting, and he was using pure lead, which was pretty interesting. And then there was this thing about the Aquia line that this guy started to was presenting, and you'll hear more from him in a second. But you can see this was outdoors, and you know, I think, and Bernie will tell you more about what that experience was like. We had, I guess there was at the peak there might have been like 20 folks, and that varied depending upon the lecture and people's endurance. For not the lecture so much, but the temperature. And then we had, so some of you might know this, some of you might not. This guy, Charlie Smithgall, has been collecting cannons, get this, since he was 12 years old. And this is his museum in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And you can see on the right, these are the guns that he takes. These are all his guns, and he takes them to the annual. It's a meet where they just shoot the guns. It's like at targets, and he has everything from Gatling guns to naval guns to 20-pound, 30-pound Parrots. He's got everything, And so it was a place that you definitely want to keep in mind if you ever want to travel out that way. And the only thing you got to do is just call the pharmacy. They don't have it open like hours. It's just you call up, you set up an appointment, and you come in, then you could take a tour. I was listening to Charlie the other day, and somebody asked him, so how many pieces you got here? He goes, I don't have a clue. And then we had a trip to the local museum. And there's a couple of layouts there. One is HO scale, which this is, and then there's another one that was an O scale. And I was really impressed with the quality of the scratch building that this one fella did most of. And it really gives a nice vibe, I think, from the 30s and 40s of Columbia during that era. Very nice fellas. It was just a great day. And there's somebody else that, I don't know, who was at Gettysburg? Was anybody at the Gettysburg meet? No?
No, I didn't.
There was a fella that I re-met at Columbia. I hadn't seen in 5 or 6 years, named Dennis Lenz. And he's done some beautiful I think, Joel, you might have met him. He's the one that did the artillery loads on the flat cars. Yes. He's a very close friend of Charlie Smithgall. And I was talking to Dennis, and evidently Dennis had done a lot of research into how these things were tied down and mounted on the cars. And so it was just great to see him. And actually, he reminded me, he was out here in 2014 when I had an open house I completely forgot about. So it was fun reconnecting with some people I haven't seen in a while. Let's see, Bernie?
Okay, you want me to share screen?
Yeah.
Oops. I don't want to see that. Here we go.
There's one guy I want to tell you about, Joel, I forget his last name. He did a lecture, and he does an HO scale layout of the V&T Railroad, and his structures are just beautiful. So I've connected with him, and he's willing to do a presentation on his layout sometime in the future. So I'll keep you posted.
Very good.
Yeah, it was great. We might have.
Are you guys seeing a bridge?
Yes, there it is. Nice, Bernie.
Yes.
Okay, so Columbia Railroad days. If you don't know, this is Columbia, Pennsylvania, not Columbia, Maryland.
Right.
And it's located on the Susquehanna River, south of Harrisburg by about 20 miles. The river makes kind of a bend there. And during the war, Civil War, the Confederates approached from the west. And initially, Lee's orders were to burn that bridge. But I think it was Early and Ewell who arrived. They defeated the militia that were defending the bridge. It was a small number. And they decided to try to capture the bridge. So the Columbia people had the bridge wired for demo. And when they went to blow it, it wasn't successful. Only a portion of the bridge exploded. It was still crossable. But they had pre-soaked the bridge with tar from a factory in town. And they set that on fire. And then so for the next day, it burned and the bridge went down and the Confederates did not cross the river. The fear was that if the Confederates got across, then they would be able to go up to Harrisburg. So Scott, shoot, now I forgot his last name again.
Mingus.
Scott Mingus. God,
Mingus.
I know this guy for 20 years. I can never remember his name. Scott Mingus was there and gave us sort of the rundown of the Gettysburg Railroad role in all of that.
Right.
And talked a little bit about the burning of the bridge and some other things that the Confederates did. And I picked up his book on the Columbia Valley Railroad. I have 2 of his other books. It's funny because Scott and I have known each other for over 20 years. I've contributed photos to some of his other books, but yet we never met in person before until this. So my first slide is actually the day before I went to Gettysburg. And this is McPherson's Barn, or on the McPherson's Ridge, a famous landmark. And I'm just going to show you a couple pictures I took at Gettysburg because it really was a pretty day, despite being gale force winds. And I rode my bike, which was okay. And then as I was leaving town, I wanted to stop at the railroad station. And as I went under the over the railroad tracks, and apparently under some power lines, I heard this loud humming noise and a flash. And I thought something was wrong with my car. So I went about 100 yards and pulled over and looked in my rearview mirror, and I saw another flash, like an orange blue flame. So I got out of my car and I looked back, and then there was that third time. And what was happening was the wind was blowing a branch onto the power lines. So I decided that I better retreat out of Gettysburg and head north. And anyway, I went north and checked out the rest of the north. Now this is a view of the northern part of the battle. It's looking southeast from Oak Hill. So 11th Corps would be down in the valley that we're looking at, and Seminary Ridge and all that's to my right.
Question, Bernie.
Yeah.
Are they still doing, because I know they did a ton of renovation on there, like burying power lines and rebuilding new fences. Was that fairly evident when you were there?
Well, I didn't see any of that on the battlefield, so maybe.
Okay.
This was the power line that I'm referring to was actually in town, right by the railroad station. They have a parking garage. They have a parking garage by the railroad station, and I was sort of meandering my way to the parking garage when this whole thing hit, and I said, I'm just going to keep going on. So it was getting a little late anyway. But I mean, it is beautiful terrain up there at Gettysburg. That's one of the reasons why it's so popular. And then I went into town to get lunch, and this is a little diorama of the railroad cut where the Confederates surrendered, Archer's brigade surrendered. So I thought it was kind of interesting. I took a picture of it.
Is that Archer there? Captured? I think he was captured or he was wounded or something.
He was captured there. I don't know if that's him or not. I don't know exactly what he looked like.
Okay.
Then I went back. This is when I was on my bike. I went by the Trossel farm, and this caught my eye. That hole in the wall is an authentic hole from a cannonball or shell from the Civil War. They never fixed it. And I'm putting these pictures up here just to give guys ideas for maybe modeling ideas. This is a view of Little Round Top. They had a fire in the foreground there. So it's a view of Little Round Top from just north of Devil's Den. So that's pretty steep. I don't know if I'd want to go up that hill.
Yeah.
You're done.
Out on the fire.
Hood didn't want to go up that hill.
Well, this is where Hood was actually. This is the start, the Confederates' position. The Alabama monument is right behind me. And the Confederates basically went straight into this picture instead of going, so that's Little Round Top in the middle and Big Round Top at the to the right. And I parked my bike at the saddle, or excursion. I parked my car at the saddle between Round Tops. So I had to go up to Round Top. Then I remembered I had to go back to my car. So I went back down, back up, down, all the way over to the peach orchard and back. But I had a tailwind coming back, which made me going up the hill a lot easier. Because it was like a 50-mile-an-hour wind. It was ridiculous. I thought, I'm not even sure the name of this farm. It's on the battlefield. It's right by the Devil's Den and the wheat field. And I just thought it was a cool looking farm scene for a model railroad if you're looking for ideas on how to build a farm.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I put that one in there. And then the next day I mentioned, Tom mentioned we were at the Columbia. So this is about an hour drive east of Gettysburg. And so the first thing I noticed when I got there was we had a Civil War reenactor set up. I knew they were going to be there. I believe it's the 45th Pennsylvania. And one of the guys told me the way this reenactment unit got started and why they're all so old now is back at the 100th anniversary, I guess it was.
150th, wasn't it?
No, it was 100th because these guys were in high school.
Oh, wow.
So it would be like 50 years ago. So yeah, it'd be like the 100th anniversary. They had a history teacher in Columbia who said, anyone who signs up and is in my reenactment unit will get an A. So they got all the kids signed up. So they had this huge Pennsylvania 45th Regiment for the reenactment. And a lot of them stuck with it. So the guy I was talking to was 62 years old, and he said he was the youngest guy in the outfit. So all the other guys were older. And as a result, they still do it. They sell their stuff, but they're getting old. They don't march around and stuff anymore. So that's their little tents they had set up. And this guy here is Larry Hoover. And his story, he told me that he was a competition shooter at the age of 12. And he was in the Army, joined the Army when the got to the rifle range and he hit all the targets at 200 meters, they assigned him as a private as a rifle instructor. So he became a rifle instructor. And then he later got a reenacting unit. And the weapons that you see over there, most of them are replicas, but a couple of them are actual authentic weapons. So like this police officer is holding a authentic, I think that's the smoothbore. And one of the things he asked me, I was holding the smoothbore, and he asked me, do you know anything weird about it? Now, I'm not a gun guy. If it's under 100 millimeters, it's a pea shooter as far as I'm concerned. However, I did notice that the gun only had one sight on the muzzle. It didn't. So I said, well, it doesn't have any sights. He said, correct. So I was kind of like, past that. But anyway, it was pretty cool. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a chance to hold an authentic weapon from the Civil War before. So that was kind of neat. And then Tom mentioned this woman. I didn't catch her name, but she's cooking the corn mushies over there. And the day before, she made these. So we're going to have a live taste test. I'm going to eat a piece of hardtack. Let's see if it breaks my teeth. Are you ready? Oh my God, it is hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, I
am not going to try to break this with my teeth. I would have to soak this in something to eat it.
which is what I think they did. They soaked them in.
I just saw it.
Yeah,
All right, I got a little piece. See?
yeah. You put it in your mouth and wait a little bit. And you can chew it.
And then it tastes like turns into sugar. So anyway, you can see that she's got the hardtack over here in the jar. She made these the day before, and the day she cooked them, they were pretty soft. I had like 3 of them that day, but then I took 2 and I let them harden up.
I will say I had one of those mushies, and you know what? I tell you, if I was a soldier and this is all we had to eat, these were quite tasty. I was really impressed. They were very good.
That hardtack ain't bad either. It's like a cookie almost.
Right.
Okay, so what else that's the lady. She also made a stew, but I didn't eat the stew. Okay, so after a while, I got a chance to visit that railroad that Tom also mentioned. It is based on Columbia, except they added this roundhouse and engine service facility. That is not prototypically correct. But all the stuff you see back here, including this building, which still stands, this is a Civil War era station. This used to be the Northern Central Railroad back here. All of this is actually modeled correctly for Columbia, which is kind of neat. And so there's a close-up. Oops, sorry about that. There's a close-up of that station. And this station was open during the meet, and they were selling coffee and ice cream. And I needed to go over there because when I started my first talk at noon, the wind was blowing about 40 miles an hour. And I just had like my cotton. I had one shirt on and a cotton jacket, and I was shivering while I was doing my talk. And it was tough to sort of concentrate on the talk and try to do isometrics to warm my body up.
Right.
Luckily, by the afternoon, it got warmer, and my afternoon talk was fine. I wasn't shivering, but boy, that first talk was tough.
Right.
And so that's all I got from that, and I will stop screen sharing.
Yeah.
I'd like to confirm that, yes, especially along the highway that goes down Cemetery Ridge, all the electrical stuff is underground. It's fantastic. The fencing, I was there in the days when that fencing was not there, and it's out there. It looks right. It's the same type of fencing that they use that was reportedly there, and it's good. And the damn tower is gone, Tom.
Right.
That's where the new National Museum is now,
Right.
where the tower used to be. That's also where the cyclorama is.
Yeah, I was there back in the probably mid 70s when it was there, and we went up, and it was a spectacular view, especially in November when you could really get a sense of the terrain and all the movements. But it was the classic eyesore. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
There are two observation towers that are still up. One's on Oak Ridge and one's down by where the Confederate artillery was at the south end by the Eisenhower farm.
Right, right.
But they're not big towers. They're maybe 30 feet. I didn't go up because the wind was howling. And there were some kids up there and I could see like their hair was standing straight out. So I said, I ain't going, I'm up on the hill. I'm high enough.
And they're relatively obscure as well.
Right. DC put something in the chat about a clinic on the artillery carloads. Mark Richardson turned us on to this fella, Don LaPue or Don somebody out in California he's still involved, but he was a battalion commander, reenactor. And he'd be willing to come on and tell us what he knows about how they loaded and unloaded artillery. And between him and Dennis Lenz, who Charlie remembers, I believe, we've been trying to find him. And like I was telling the group, Charlie, I got to hang out with him a little bit at Columbia, and he'd be willing to join Don and do a little clinic on the artillery aspect of what we would need to know for the modeling purposes. So I'm going to line that up as soon as possible. I think that would be great.
Great.
Yeah.
Dennis said he was going to join the chat group or the IO group.
You know who, and I think Joel is too, that fella that does the VNT. So we might have a couple of new members. I just saw today somebody else joined our group. We've picked up probably.
I didn't mention his talk because it really wasn't Civil War related, but he did, he presented some interesting photos.
Yeah, he was doing, he wrote a couple of novels. And he was talking about how he used his railroad as part of that experience. But when I told him we would be primarily interested in the railroads, he's going to see what he can do. Matter of fact, DC and I have a Zoom with him tomorrow afternoon, and to walk him through, because he's not familiar with Zoom at all. So we'll have to do a couple of rehearsals. But I think it'd be well worth the craftsmanship for all of us to experience.
Yeah, he had lots of good details.
Yeah.
Dennis and Barry Schmidt are planning on setting up a visit to my railroad at some point. So when they come, I'll remind him if he hasn't already.
Great.
And DC might be interested in this, but there's a fellow up there has a link that he's willing to sell me. But I have to call him up and get the price. He had to go look for it. He didn't have it with him at the show.
Whoa.
So I may get I know I like handling the link that DC used to bring to shows. I think it'd be kind of a cool artifact. The only issue is, how much is he going to charge for it? Because it's basically just scrap metal,
Right. Right. Right.
And then I can imagine shipping, thinking it's got to weigh like 15, 20 pounds. Shipping might be more than it's worth for all I know.
Well, yeah, I bought one, oh God, probably in the 80s. I bought a Lincoln pin at a train show and a piece of rail from the ONA. And the piece of rail is a foot long, and that cost me about, God, I think like $50.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Then the Lincoln pin was actually not too bad. I think both of them I got for like $25.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No. But they're so rare these days, it might be worth it, Bernie.
Yeah, well, the deal is when I get a new operator, we'll give them that link and say, here's what you got to carry around with you.
You won't have too many volunteers for that one, I think.
Oh, they won't know. It'd be like initiation.
Oh, okay. I got it. Cool. So welcome to those of you that just joined, Charlie, John, and Tom. And I think we're going to turn it over to Dr. Matthews at this point. You ready to go, LeBron?
Yeah, I want to show Bernie something first.
Oh, is that a Sharps?
Is it a Sharps rifle?
Spencer carbine,
Oh, a Spencer carbine. Ooh.
Original?
original.
Oh my gosh.
I've got a makeup or a reenactor one, but not an original.
This is an original.
Nice.
Very nice. So all we have to do is go to LeBron's house. We didn't have to go to Columbia and freeze our butts off.
No, he's got a nice little collection, actually. Where did you get that and how long ago?
It was given to me about 10 years ago.
Given.
When I got it, it was completely disassembled.
Oh,
An older man had taken it apart when he was a kid and couldn't figure out how to put it back together.
that's a nice gift.
Yeah. I've
Does
got,
it have that little spinning thing at the front where you put the cartridges in?
no,
Because Larry Hoover showed me one where you put the strip of bullets in, but you
Right.
like rotate the muzzle.
Right.
And I've never seen that before. That was kind of cool.
this has got your magazine in the back, in the butt. I'm missing the spring to the magazine, and
His was a Henry rifle. Now that I think about it.
That's right. That's
Yeah, I
right.
think it was a Henry rifle. Okay, sorry.
Henry goes the other way.
Yeah.
all right, let me see if I can get my screen on, Tom. That's not it.
You might need to save the PowerPoint on your taskbar if it's in a file.
Yeah.
You just pull it up and then click that little minus sign up at the top right. Charlie, do you remember Dennis? I think wasn't it you and I that were talking about Dennis? We were trying to locate him. Oh, Mr. Taylor disappeared.
Oh, wow, it disappeared. Oh, can you hear me?
Go.
No.
Yeah, I got you, Charlie.
Huh. I don't know why I lost my video.
Can you see LeBron's PowerPoint?
Yeah, I'm good there.
Whoa, there's your mural. Oh, wow.
Yeah. What I've done a mural is Atlanta. I had one previously, but it just did not have the feel to Atlanta. And I'm redoing my whole layout. So I wanted to do the mural before I put in the track work and all. And what I've used, I started out with some paper buildings that this one particular one, it was from the Illinois Bicentennial Commission. It's free online. And I made 2 copies of the end that I wanted to use, one on cardstock and one on gloss photographic paper. And so I mounted it on mat board, the cardstock on mat board. Then I cut out the windows and mounted the photographic picture, the photograph behind the window. So that gave it a gloss look to it.
So,
And,
excuse me, 1 second. So in that photo, it looked like you used actual window castings in there in place of,
No,
oh,
it's just a photograph.
dag.
And by using these free paper buildings you get online, you get that photographic quality if you use the right ones. I mean, and so here was the location where I wanted this particular building. And so one of the things I was trying to do is give the viewpoint from where I'm looking at. So I drew my horizon across the back of the layout, and I wanted to, there'll be buildings in front of this, so I wanted to get a shot so you're looking down the street. So I did a 1-point perspective from the street level on all my streets, which did some weird things like right here. It was kind of weird, but when I get the buildings and structures in front, I think it'll look fine. But anyway, I painted on the background, the front of the building and the roof. I made some trees out of floral wire.
Nice.
And I by making them myself, they could be flat.
Right.
Because all of these structures are less than most of them are about a quarter of an inch thick at most. Most of them are about an eighth.
What did you use to coat the wire?
Just some putty, modeling putty.
Okay.
I used a floral tape first, then used some floral modeling putty to do that.
Okay.
Here is my old layout. This is what I had when you were down here before. But one of the things that bothered me in that red circle here, the street doesn't go back. It looks like it just dead ends into the buildings behind it. And I wanted a little more open look to it. That's what I'm after.
So you're at, oh, that's what you're going for. Okay.
Yeah, see, this is my old model railroad, and this is what the actual photograph looks like. I regret that I didn't have TIF files earlier, because one of the things about the TIF files is you can blow up things and see exactly what's there.
Right.
And I did that, and then this here will be that back area in the red is right over here.
Where?
In the left-hand corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that building in front there, are you saying those doors are all photographed?
They're all photographed.
Okay.
They're all photographed. The yellow building is just basswood, and the stair rail on it is just strip wood.
Now, the sign, it says wholesale grocer. Did you add that?
The one I know that came from one of the buildings, paper buildings I got. I added the Cox Hill and Company grocers because when you blow up the original photograph, that is the sign on one of those buildings in the distance.
Awesome.
And I wanted to create a more open looking feel than what I had. You know, one of the shots, Bernie, it's in your book. It looks like there's a mountain right behind in Atlanta. And that bothered me because it's not there. And
So is this the new layout we're looking at, the new backdrop?
this is the new backdrop.
Wow.
Let's see.
How did you do the sidewalk, LeBron?
The sidewalk is just a flat piece of mat board with a paper picture on the image on the top.
Okay, you didn't draw all those pavers in there.
There was the pavers. I just picked up a texture and printed it out and put it on the mat board.
Nice.
And yet I've used a combination of photographs. The house that you see in the distance is a photograph I had of a house, the White House. I mean, did you see it at the top left-hand side?
Right. How about that little structure to the left? That little.
That is a well, actually, it's part of a one of those paper kits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that structure there is maybe a 1/16 of an inch thick.
Wow.
Oh, man.
There is a better picture of that area.
Yep. That fence is 3-dimensional.
The fence is 3-dimensional.
And that first floor, that's a photograph?
Yes.
Holy man, okay. So you were able to find these online?
Some I had line, a lot of them I've taken myself at different places.
Oh, okay.
And
That's good.
and I think when I get the structures in place in front of it and blend the actual Georgia French clay with the painted picture, that it'll all really pop out well.
And that sign next to the wholesale grocer there, is that three-dimensional?
That's three-dimensional. It's a copy of the sign that I saw in the Library of Congress photograph.
Is that a street name or what is that?
No, it's the merchant's name.
Okay.
Man.
So how long is it taking you to do? Oh, we got more. Go ahead, keep going.
Here you can see about half of the layout mural for Atlanta. You can see the building I showed you up front and the street we was just looking at. That covers about half of my wall that my Atlanta will be on.
Amazing.
One of the problems I had with the photographic mural that I had up there was the colors of the trees didn't match the colors of the foliage material I could buy in the hobby stores.
Right.
And I wanted to get it as close to that as possible. You can see, for example, the tree along the sidewalk are using regular foliage and how close they are to the trees in the background in
Right.
color.
LeBron, you're saying you're using a 1-point perspective, but looking down the barrel of these 2 roads, especially maybe all 3 roads, it's like you have a perspective right down the middle of each road.
That's pretty much what I did.
Okay.
And so I think some of the weird spots that came out as a result of that will be covered by structures when I put them in there. One of the advantages I had in doing this, I'm not changing the structures I used previously. They're going to be in the same place they always were in.
LeBron, are we looking to the north or to the south here? Just wondering.
It's to the north.
Theoretically, could that not be Kennesaw Mountain to your to the left of this particular screen, to the left of the white building?
It could be. It probably is. What I did for the buildings in the mountains in the background.
Yeah.
I looked at the cyclorama in Atlanta and basically copied the landscape there, the horizon.
Okay.
Your sky looks fabulous. How did you do the clouds?
With a spray paint sprayer and
An airbrush?
an airbrush and a little piece of cardboard that I cut out with little ripples on it.
Very nice.
Man.
And I've tried some of the, Bernie has he did a presentation on cloud painting clouds. I've tried some of those too, Bernie. Then on the other side, this is the continuation of it.
Is this to the right of what we just saw or to the left?
To the left.
Okay, so it's tough to tell what the hell's a photograph and what's 3-dimensional.
That was what I was trying to achieve, Tom.
Well, you did, man.
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
good.
Man.
All right.
One of the problems I had with my previous layout, the shadows didn't fall in the right place with the structures on the background, and I've worked real hard to make sure they do. And this, one of the things I did, you see the 2 horses down at the bottom left corner. Those are some one Jordan horse that I took. The Jordan figures horse that come in 2 parts. I painted the 2 parts separately and put them on there. One of the things I learned in architectural rendering was that you don't have to get things exact. People their eyesight will see what they think should be there and not necessarily what is actually there.
Right.
I think when it's put together, it'll come out well.
LeBron, that's a 3-mule gin all the way to the left.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
It's a what?
3-mule gin. 3 mules.
That
He's
gray
turning-
building?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to crank.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
that was made at Westville. We've got a place. It used to be in Lumpkin, Georgia. It's now moved here to Columbus. That is preserved structures from the 1850s, 1840s, 1850s, and that it's a gin. They haven't not moved that to Columbus yet, but it will be moved here shortly.
beautiful. Those columns aren't a photograph, are they? Those four
Yes.
columns?
Yes.
Man,
Unbelievable.
And this gives you an idea. I'm still working on the pictures at the far left of this background, but you can see where we've been and how the corner will go around.
So what's your backdrop made out of that you got the cove in there, that curve?
It's I made that curve out of some cardboard, thick cardboard that a man I knew got for me, and I have some wood formers behind it to give it the curved shape.
So did you paint the wall, or is that cardboard the whole backdrop?
The background is the old photographic mural I had behind before.
So you had to blend that cardboard into that.
No, it was already there, Tom.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha. Yep, gotcha.
Yeah, and I just painted over what was there. I didn't like the color of blue that it had, and I think this has turned out pretty nice.
Yeah, you could say that. I was just curious, what is that brick structure there to the left, just in front of the
The
stakes?
Atlanta Art Lard building.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
It's not in the actual location, but it's I needed something there, and that fit the bill.
Wow.
But I think this is beginning to capture the feel of Atlanta as I've studied the photographs more closely.
So I get lots of questions here. The mountaintops in the back, is that the Kennesaw Mountain?
Uh,
Or King Mountain.
it looks like it. So as I say, I copied that from the Atlanta Cyclorama.
Oh, right.
So, but that appears to be Kennesaw, and then that would be Pine Mountain behind it,
Right.
to the left of it.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And when I blend the 3D into it, I think it will really look good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's better.
So you just need to finish the other wall, the rest of this wall, and then you're done with the backdrop, right? You're not going to take it around by the window.
Oh, I'm going to redo the whole thing, Tom.
Okay.
But I've started with Atlanta first because I got to start somewhere.
Right. That's great. Wow. Last question for me. How long have you been working on this? I mean, if you thought about the approximate number of hours.
No, I haven't even thought about that. Pandemic has been good for one thing. It gave me plenty of time to do this.
Right. Beautiful work, man.
How tall is that, LeBron, from the bottom of your mural up?
It's about 7 feet. Well, from the
Yeah.
mural, bottom of the mural up, it's 3 feet.
Oh, 3 feet. Okay.
And you can see the bottom of the line that runs at an angle on this photograph. That's the
Right.
table level.
Yeah.
And the unpainted part will be terrain. We'll go
Right.
up.
You
And I'll
plan on
add some more 3D details to some of these buildings as I work in the structures on the layout.
You putting the roundhouse in the same spot in the corner?
Uh-huh.
So for the most part, your layout's going to be the same.
Most of it's gonna be the same.
Okay.
There are some changes I want to make, but the overall concept will be the same.
Right. You're not going to do two levels, are you? Where you have track going down and up, or are you?
Yeah, I am. We talked about that at the meet, and I guess it was in Savannah, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're talking about doing an elevator?
Yeah, I'm just going to do a left out section. Some of you suggested at that meeting.
Got it.
And
Well,
I'll have
LeBron,
Yes.
I have two comments. One is you're making me wish I had a town on my railroad that I could do this. And this, I don't know if you guys have seen this book. It's a British book,
No.
but he talks a lot about the techniques that LeBron is doing here. So if you want to like read up more on it, and it's one of the most beautiful model railroad books I've ever seen.
Looks
Wow.
British. But he talks about how to use 2D and 3D stuff, which like LeBron is doing, but he'll give you all the perspective stuff. So if you really want to get down in the weeds, you can. So I can put this in the link in the chat if you want.
That would be great. Yeah,
That would
please
be
do
great.
that.
Yeah, I'm into backdrops. So if there ever a book comes out on backdrops, I always pick it up.
Yep. I know I say this almost every time somebody presents something, but it just makes me rethink what I'd like to do with my layout. Jeez. I'm so tempted to just start redoing things, but not yet.
I would not redo yours, Tom.
Okay, good. I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
LeBron,
good.
I got a quick question for you. Just a thought out of curiosity. I know more and more people are starting to use these photo backdrops. How easy would it be to find a way to implement this? Right, because I know you've done some amazing painting. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to knock it or anything, but if you were to combine something like this and combined with like a photorealistic backdrop, how hard would that be to implement those together?
Finding the right photographic backdrop will be trouble. I mean, I looked at that, and that's what I originally had. A lot of the houses and buildings you see in the background are actually photographic pictures I've taken, and printed them on labels and then just stuck them to the painting.
George, to give my input on that, I started with photo backdrop using photos I took of woods and things in my time of year and using Brian's artwork to try to integrate it. And I ended up painting over it because I just found it too hard to get the colors to match the background of the foreground. And it was very expensive to get those sections painted. And I had a lot to do. It would have probably been $5,000 to do my whole basement in those photo backdrops.
Oh, wow.
When I did the photo backdrop for my Port of Los Angeles, so 18 inches tall and 33 feet long, it was $800, and he gave me a break to $500. So you could do photo backdrops, but it's cheaper. And I think for the Civil War Railroad, what LeBron did is probably the best solution, because he's getting those beautiful three-dimensional looking buildings and on a painted backdrop that's perfect for his terrain. So,
And I'd like to say, Bernie, I had trouble matching the commercial foliage for your 3D trees to.
yeah, you said that.
So,
Yeah, that's why I ended up painting over mine. And what I do is when I paint my backdrop, I paint the same scenery colors on the backdrop that I do. I tell people I'm painting my layout onto the backdrop. I'm not painting reality. I'm painting my layout because,
and if you
I'm
do
not a
that-
good enough painter to paint reality. Let's put it that way.
That makes sense. And I agree with the color matching. I mean, that's a big key and difficult to do on a layout is trying to match the colors to the backdrop.
Now, having said that, there are two guys in New England who are just unbelievably good at this. Paul Schofield, I think, is one, and Jim Dufour. So just Google those guys. Schofield's on Facebook. I forget, he doesn't go by his name though. It's like the New England something or other. And if you're curious, I'll post some pictures that Jim Dufour sent me of his railroad or his videos. You go to his YouTube channel. They have the greens all lined up perfect. The other guy, the guy up in Maine, who does the Allagash Central, now I can't think of his name. I'm terrible at names. Mine Coffalone, he's another guy that has it down. But they model current era, so they can go take pictures of what it looks like now. We can't go get Civil War era pictures.
Right. I thought there was somebody, maybe not in this group, but I thought I heard or read that somebody's doing a layout, but they're doing all their structures and cars in gray tones for an actual period look. Does anybody remember hearing anybody say that? I must have.
Well,
Brannigan.
I know a guy who, Chris Brannigan.
Brannigan.
Yeah, but Chris Brannigan's layout doesn't really have scenery. It's
No,
just
he's the one who was talking about doing that.
okay. Well, there's a
Okay.
guy. There's a guy by the name of Jeff Ward who lives in New York City, or he works at Lincoln Center, and he built a Western Maryland Railroad in black and white like that.
Hmm.
But I never saw pictures of it complete, and I haven't heard from him in several years.
Hmm.
So there was a man who had an N-scale module that he took around to the various shows that was New York City in black and white, but the only things that were in color were the railroad things. So you had like a red caboose and freight cars, but everything else was black and white. So
Interesting.
I personally didn't like it, but other people were really blown away by it. So
Right. Right. Good.
LeBron, I'm really interested in the kind of bas-relief flat structures that you're making, like how they project forward. What determines in your mind what comes forward? Are they the things in the foreground or just what interests you the most?
The buildings in the foreground. I'm really using this for background ideas. I've used the photographs of what was there to try to capture the feel of what I want to create.
Right.
I'm going to be putting my my model of Atlanta is very long. It's about 8 feet long. So you have when you come into the room, you're looking right down Decatur Street, and it just goes for the full length of the city of Atlanta.
I know that the early cycloramas, like the Gettysburg one, and I don't know if the Atlanta one, I've not seen the Atlanta one, but they had like a foreground area, was maybe 4 feet deep, that if there was a fence line in the painting that came to the front, then they would actually make a model of the fence as if it continued into the foreground, and it kind of served the same purpose of kind of a transition from three-dimensional space into the flat space of the painting. It might be interesting to look at some of that stuff. You said that you had been looking at the Atlanta one, but I know there are a lot of panoramas and cycloramas that some still exist, and I know some in Europe still have that foreground modeled section. That might be interesting to look at.
Yeah, in some of my other areas, I do have fences that partly are painted onto the structure, onto the background, and some are three-dimensional. So I intended to use that here. The Atlanta cyclorama it's probably a good 10 feet in depth.
Hmm.
And it has three-dimensional figures. One of the interesting things, Clark Gable portrayed as a dead federal soldier.
Right. Yeah, I had a good fortune of having Brian Camera do my backdrop, and
Yeah.
I did do that on one scene where he's got a fence in the backdrop, and I built a fence that goes to it to give you that feel of like it continues. And I think it's a great technique because it's one of the ways you can bridge the back with the foreground.
Yeah, over there in the left-hand corner of mine, you see that dark curved space at the bottom of the layout. That's the
Mhm.
entrenchments around Atlanta, and I had that on the original layout, and it will continue on in 3-dimensional, and it looks really good when if I get the colors matching right.
Those are,
Tom,
yeah.
on your, is it Dalton Manufacturing Company? You did something similar. Remember when we
You
added,
did that.
we added 3-dimensional details onto a photo.
Yeah, it was that paper image of a factory, right? That you did a really nice job adding 3-dimensional. Also, we did that with I think LeBron did that with the entrenchments just outside of Atlanta, and then Brian painted it into the backdrop, and that looked great. What are those? I forget. Is there a military term for those stakes that are in that curved section you're talking about, or are those just stakes?
Abatis?
Abatis, yeah.
Is it? I thought
Abatis.
abatis was the trees that were felled. No.
Oh, you.
Abattis is when you fell a tree in the direction of the enemy. A chevaux de frise is the X's
Right.
in a log. And if you just put up a wall like that, it's just called a fence. It's not really an abattis. It could be an abattis if you sharpen stakes.
Abatis. Oh, good.
You used to blow abattis. We used to
I'll
do
have
them
it
in the
sharp.
Army. I was a combat engineer, so you have to learn how to make an abattis. You
Yeah,
can't
I'll have those on.
put too much demo or you blow the tree off. You have to put just enough so the tree falls down, but it's still attached,
Right.
so that it's much harder to move with a tank or something else.
What were you saying, LeBron?
I said, I will have that in this model when it's finished. And
Let's see, how do you?
The abattis, the trees.
well, I'll have the stakes because that's what they had in Atlanta.
Right.
Sharpen
Right.
stakes.
Sharp
Right.
stakes. And there would have been head logs on the lines you see over across the dark, of course, were logs that were placed across the trenches. So and they put the head log up on that so that if they got knocked back, it wouldn't fall into the trench. It would roll over.
Right. Right. Yeah, I had the good fortune of you building those for me. It takes a village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does, man.
Yeah, I built the defenses for Atlanta for you.
Yep. Yep. Among other things. That was good. Cool.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll
If you want,
update it
you
when I
can
get-
take down, what's that, LeBron?
See, I'll update it when I get the 3D the structures in.
Oh, of course. Yep. Good. Good. All
After
right.
you called me yesterday, Tom, I spent all day working on this.
That presentation.
Yeah.
Nice job. Well done. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Good job, LeBron.
Very nice.
Excellent.
Very
I guess
well
I'll-
done. Yeah, nice.
Maybe go back and look at, the last time I was down there, I did a long range shot around your layout to see how much you changed it.
It's changed. It's going to be changed
Yes.
a lot.
A lot. Yeah, it's looking a lot better.
Are you taking out Tunnel Hill that was in the corner?
I'm going to relocate Tunnel Hill.
Oh, okay. Good. So maybe this time next year, it'll all be done and we can get another clinic from you or a presentation.
Hopefully I have some of it done.
By next year, some of it done? Geez, we're gonna have to coordinate another pandemic down in Columbus.
Oh, no way.
No. We're back to normal now.
Go
We'll
down
stay
for
that
dinner.
way.
And an operating session.
Right. Thank you,
That we
Joe.
could have. As long as Tom don't find something wrong for me to redo.
I'm waiting, man. I'm waiting for you to start building. I can't wait to come down there with my microscope. That's great. Or my magnifier. That's good. Cool. All right, guys.
Great job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great job. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So anybody have any other questions or comments?
I have a question for Jerry. Did you send that text to me tonight, Jerry, just now asking for my email?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I got it
So-
too. So
All right, well, send me what you got. I'll take a look.
I'll shoot you some stuff a little later.
Cool. All right.
I got a question for Jerry too. Jerry, a few sessions ago, you mentioned a model saw, a precision wood saw, table saw.
Yeah, that's Jim Burns, B-Y-R, or yeah, B-Y-R-N,
E.
I think is the spelling.
Jim Burns.
Yeah, Jim Burns makes it. He's got a small company that makes those things, and they're about $500, between $400 and $500, but it's a real ultra precision saw.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm thinking what we might do in one of the near meets is people share something about a particular tool that they find real valuable, and see if we can pick up any tips from how, not only what you use, but how you use it. And then I'm going to reach out to Mark Richardson's friend, Don Laporta, and get that on deck with the artillery loads. And maybe we could do a few presentations on that. I've got some ideas for something similar, but not artillery. So stay tuned. More good stuff to come.
Good job, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, assuming there's nothing else that anybody asks or want to comment on, we will.
Oh, I have a question. Did
Yep.
anyone build a car for the car build? I never saw any. Did you post the pictures?
No, I did it on the Zoom, but I will post some pictures. Yeah, I
Okay.
could do that.
I
Yeah.
just got behind the 8 ball. The people delivered that model yesterday, so I have to start working on that slave pen. So
Right,
I'll
right.
be out of touch for a while.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I did the Adams Express. I'll post some
Oh,
photos.
cool.
Yeah. I got to find those corner braces.
Oh, you found them.
I think I did. We'll see. I'll
What do you-
connect with you again offline, Rhett.
Okay.
Good. All right, gentlemen, you all stay well, and maybe we'll see some of you Saturday, at the very least, maybe next time here on the regular Zoom.